2 years ago, I introduced you guys to my magical fighter team, and I named the story Mystic. At the time, there were very simple concepts, and I genuinely had no idea what was going on. I had these characters and their relationships with each other, but if I'm honest, I had no idea how the magic system worked. Once I realized this, I felt I hit a brick wall with what I wanted to accomplish for this story. It felt like everything I picked was already done, or cheesy, or I didn't want it that way. My partner, Will, noticed how badly I was struggling to pick things for myself and asked if they could help me write my story Mystic. So, as we go along with this story and this video, I'll be mentioning them. It's good to know what they've done for this story and how incredible of a writer they are. They've saved my story so many times, and they've made it just as amazing as it is today, and I credit them fully for whole characters. They're incredible. I'm going to start this off with a quick disclaimer. Almost none of what I say here is set in stone. There are things here and there that I'm willing to keep, but almost nothing here is set in stone. Characters are going to change and evolve as I change and evolve my writing style and my personality, and I hope you all will understand as things change. So, without further ado, this is Mystic. We take place in Los Angeles, California, in a world incredibly similar to ours. So similar, in fact, that it is just the same Earth you know. In this rundown area, there stands a tall building surrounded and made of glass, with a logo that looks like this, pasted on the front. Everyone in town knows about this building because it's been keeping them safe for about 15-ish years. It's a company that deals in lending magical powers to those deemed worthy, run by a man named Felix Wade, father to two existing characters, Tia and Dexter, formerly known as Skylar. Felix is a very professional man, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have his secrets or his moments of fun. He's a very dynamic guy. He is also my everything, but we don't have to get into that right now. Felix works in dealing out these things called mystics. But what are mystics? So glad I asked. Mystics are magical creatures that take the shape of birds, but take shelter/dormant forms in simple chokers. Magical fighters get their magic from these little guys. The size of your bird will indicate how powerful you are and how long you can fight. Your choker will also indicate your power levels. If your choker is a simple gray when you aren't transformed, you have a very uncommon amount of magic. It's very simple, flat line. Most magical fighters have this. It's like baseline. If your choker takes a different form out of your transformation but stays that gray color, you have a rare amount of magic. Not a lot of people have this, but good for you. But if both the color and design of your choker change when you aren't transformed, you are a force to be reckoned with. Only one magical girl is seen to have this happen, but I'll keep that a secret for now. Mystics, or people with mystics, fight these dark creatures called the Shade, also known as Shades themselves. They inhabit this world, and no one really knows how or why they're here. They just know that Felix is doing everything he can to get rid of them. They're constantly terrorizing homes and specific people. No one really knows why. Felix will spend a significant amount of time with someone to decide if they're worthy enough to get a mystic. It also does cost money, but that's another side of the story. He's very specific with who he chooses, and he won't let just anyone in for the sake of it. That being said, he had to spend a lot of time with our main team and everyone to get to know them and to learn their specific wants and likes in order to get them a mystic that suits them. Speaking of our main characters, they have changed a lot. I wanted to go back a little and explain everyone's personalities in full. When I made that first video, I was so afraid of keeping every little thing a secret, and I want to have the freedom to be open about the things that I've written and not have that need to be secretive and just tell you guys what's going on because you deserve to know, and, I'd rather have my stuff out there and people know about it than have it all be to myself. First up is Darcy, as usual. Darcy is still our main character, and honestly, not much has changed about her. She's still a hardworking lady who tries her best to appeal to people because that's just how she is. I want to talk a little bit about the process that everyone went through to get their mystics, but Darcy is the first case that it gets a little complicated. There's multiple, but, we'll start here. You see, Darcy isn't supposed to have a mystic. She was never officially given one. No paperwork was signed, and it's giving Felix a huge headache. They get into arguments here and there about it. She happened upon a mystic that escaped from the lab for whatever reason, and she kind of formed this bond with it and decided that she could do what she definitely could not do, and started fighting shades with no consultation from anyone. And, no money was paid, anything like that. Reluctantly, Felix let her keep it after a while, and she's been working with him ever since. Even if they got off on the wrong foot, Darcy really admires Felix and the work he does for everyone, and tries her best to do what she's got to do to help, just because that's how she is. She likes helping people. Not a ton about Darcy's backstory changed. She still lives with her dad, Hiroshi, and his partners, Rowan and Salem. Mom is still out of the picture for not accepting her, all that good stuff. Something to note is that Darcy is a lot less shy than she was before. In fact, she's got a pretty big ego. She's not really afraid to tell or show people that she thinks she's better than them, and I don't know, I think that's kind of funny. Next up is Cass. God, Cass really hasn't changed much. In my old video, I remember being really upset while writing my script that I couldn't talk about their lore and backstory, because, again, I was younger and really afraid of spoilers, but you know what? With this new mindset that I have, I don't care anymore. Take my writing because I like it and I liked writing it. When Cass was younger, their moms were magical girls. Some of the first magical girls ever, and they were really good at what they did. Constantly helping others in the name of good feelings and safety. Not exactly fighting shades, but helping people just for the sake of it. Little Cass loved to follow them around on their missions and watch them fight, but one day, all of them were caught in a really bad attack, resulting in her mother's dying and her gaining that huge scar on her shoulder. Feeling alone in her sadness after having watched her mother's die, her uncle, Felix, heard the news, found her, and took her in. Once she got a little older, Cass took the role of Felix's secretary and became a trainer for newly appointed mystic holders who didn't quite understand what they were doing yet. She would take them into training areas and help them learn how to fight. She would teach them the discipline of mystics, all of the basics. She's still very stoic and not very open to fighting alongside people, so she mostly keeps to herself in a lot of things. Until her uncle told her, hey, there's this rogue girl named Darcy, and I need you to watch over her. Cass was not very happy about this, but reluctantly agreed to watch over her and train Darcy so she knew what she was doing. So Cass isn't super formal about being part of the team. She's really just there to make sure that everybody is okay and doing what they're supposed to. Cass isn't really close to others other than Felix because she knows he's a safe space for her, and they both get along pretty well. Felix really just wants to see them happy and succeed and cherishes the moments that he gets to see it. Cass wants to know more about Felix, but Felix is a very secretive man. He doesn't tell a lot of people what he thinks or feels about certain situations. Cass is a very work-driven person, so if they see something that needs to get done, they'll get it done. Especially if it means getting to live out their moms' legacies, because they loved their moms. Eli is almost the same as before, very upbeat and chipper, very going forward without thinking. He's pretty brash in his decision-making, so he doesn't really think before he acts, and it can get silly sometimes. Felix agreed to meet with Eli, and will admit it till the day he dies that he did not believe that Eli had what it takes. He spent the week with Eli, getting to know him and all of his weird quirks, and I think Felix was more worried about him than anything. Poor Felix doesn't want Eli's stupidity to get him killed. Anyone killed, for that matter. He told Eli this, and Eli basically fought with Felix in the name of love, until he gave the man so much of a headache that he gave in and let him have a mystic. Except Eli is so stupid and kind of fucked around and found out. You see, Eli was very petty and kind of resented Felix for being so hesitant, so he kind of avoided him in all aspects of mystic fighting, and that's all fine and good until your mystic needs to be healed or something is wrong with it. Eli's mystic at one point was really damaged and wasn't working very well, and instead of taking it to the man in charge, Eli said, "Meanie pants, fuck you, I'll do it myself," and broke the shit out of his mystic. But that's a topic I want to get back to in a minute because it feels more appropriate to put what happened in a later point in this video. It fits well. It fits better in that section. Eli is very lazy, for lack of a better word, when it comes to his work. And, honestly, he only does it for Darcy, who he also happens to have a huge crush on. God, I've been holding that one in for years. They've been friends since they were about 6 years old, and Eli being there for Darcy's transition made them really close, and she even helped him realize his own identity, and it was really helpful for him, and he loves her for that and for every other reason in the book that he could probably think of. Darcy is, and don't get her wrong, Darcy is very clueless about this. It actually hurts physically for him to know that he's pining for her so hard and she doesn't even notice. Faye. Oh my god, Faye. Anyone who's known me and my partner for as long as Faye's been around is aware of us and how much we've worked on Faye these past couple years. Faye has gone through so many changes, and it was actually really hard for me to decide if I wanted to talk about their backstory here. I got a lot of input from Will and what they wanted people to know, so you can thank them for this part of the script. Faye's backstory is something I've kept secret for so long, but I think I am finally willing to share at least a little bit here. Once again, things are subject to change. Things are changing behind the scenes. Things in this script have changed. Faye has lived a hard life. After becoming a father at a really young age, they kind of had to drop everything for their kids and for their wife, Lydia, their wife. They often find themselves in situations that aren't very healthy for them due to how much they're willing to sacrifice and risk. And it ends up really exhausting them. They juggle so much with their friends and their personal life and their kids that they find it tiring, carrying so much on top of the entire public, knowing almost everything about them because of a job that isn't being a magical fighter, but being a magical fighter ties into the idea of everyone knowing them. They were one of the first. This job ends up making regular things like going out in public, buying groceries, doing things for their kids really hard because they've got these 3 kids to worry about hiding the identity of because of how young they are and because they have nothing to do with any of the work that they do. But paparazzi and public, they love to get their noses in on things, and that is Faye's life constantly. As for how they play into the magical fighter side of things, Faye is more part-time than anyone on the team, and because of this, they're seen more as a support fighter. They met Felix by chance, and he happened to see them as worthy enough, even though they tried to refuse him at first. They very often feel trapped in their house and outside around so many people. They take being a magical fighter as kind of an escape from their everyday life, and they appreciate the time they get to themselves now and then. They love their friends and they love their kids, but it all becomes so much sometimes that they need their escapes. Faye is not often one to speak their mind. They're used to staying quiet in a lot of situations, but bring up a show tune and you've got them rambling for hours. They've got that autistic bug in their brain. Faye has really been a main focus for me and Will for so many years, but I can't seem to know how to talk about them ever. But I think what I've told you here sums up what I want the public to know, and I'm really happy that I get to share what I get to share. Our last of the main 5 is Aya. Aya went through, dare I say, the biggest change of the 5 of these people. I'm assuming all of you that are here know and remember her old design. If not, I'll put it up. And most of you remember what her place was in the story. Take that idea and erase it completely from your mind, because me and Will brainstormed for weeks on this idea, and I think we're pretty happy with what we came up with. So going back to an earlier topic, Eli's mystic was broken, and he decided to not go to Felix for help, but rather decided to do it himself. He took the bird and ran a couple tests with it, made it go dormant, took the choker, ran some tests with that as well, breaking some things and fixing them again, and, Eli, being kind of dumb, thought he fixed it. In his victory, he called Darcy to be like, hey, I fixed it. But when they got back to the room, what they found was not a choker or a bird, they found a little girl with the longest, bluest of hair. Aya is Eli's mystic turned human because of an accident. Aya is kind of a mystery to the Mystic Corporation because at this point, Felix has only seen this happen once before, which, isn't really something I want to get into at the moment, but trust that Felix has never seen this happen other than once. This issue gave Felix such a headache, and he had to fight Eli for Aya back to see what was the issue. Eli genuinely thought that he could fix what he broke trying to fix something, because he's just like that. Aya, as a person, bird, mystic, whatever, is very clueless and still has a lot of the aspects and mannerisms of a bird. Like, it's not that important, but she does eat worms, and I don't know, I think it's funny. Keep in mind that Aya can still transform in and out of bird form and, dormant form, whatever. She can still transform, but she prefers to be human so that she can communicate with Eli and her friends. Writing Aya to be a mystic was one of the moments where it hit me really hard that I actually have full freedom to change things, and that's okay. This change really morphed everything and my entire perspective on what I really like about writing stories like this. And God, it was such a good thing for me. In the future, I want to remember how this felt for me so that I can feel that freedom and that fear that comes with changing things and push through it to change things more often. I genuinely cannot express how good of a change this was for me. Writing Aya was such a freedom that I didn't know I could have. And now that I've seen that and experienced it, I've had the freedom to change a lot of these backstories and be okay with it. And it's really good for me, and I'm really proud of myself. Of the main 5, that is all the changes of note for our main team. This series means so much to me, and I would love to keep documenting the progression of this story on my YouTube and Instagram and all that good stuff. In fact, I have more characters that have changed, and I would love to make more videos about this story and put those changes to action and to show these things. So, if you're interested in seeing more Mystic, you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter, or if you want, just a suggestion, you could subscribe to my Patreon. I post a lot of works in progress along with OC doodles and random projects that may not make the cut. So if you're interested in that, it's just $2 for literally everything on there. I want to quickly say thank you to everyone who has supported me throughout these years of writing this story. Me and my co-writer have been working so hard on this story, and we've busted our asses over and over again just to write this story that people would love. And God, we've been having so much fun. As of right now, the goal is to make it a TV show, but those ambitions are big. But I'm glad that I have an audience and people who support me that I get to have those big ambitions. Thank you so much for everything and for all of the love for this cute little passion project. And thank you for, oh my God, making art and headcanons. All of the art that's on the screen is from wonderful fan artists and incredibly talented people. Thank you all so much. If there are any questions you guys have, please feel free to leave them in the comments or in my public Discord that will be in the description, and I'd be happy to get around to them and answer them for you. Once again, I cannot stress this enough. Thank you so much for sticking around. More Mystic to come, of course, if you're interested. Thank you so much, and I will catch you guys in the next one. I love you all very much. Keep making art, keep making headcanons, keep loving this story. I love you all so much. Thanks for sticking around. Bye-bye.